Nixon here. The morning after the debate, I think we got one or two things we need to talk about. Let's talk. Hello, Garland here, and the morning after, right? This. Consider this show that your morning after pill, right? So, what did we have? We had a debate last night. Now, okay, there are many of us. I talked to a few friends who agree with me. My position before the debate was there's a couple of options here. Number one, the level of incompetence of the Democratic Party, of the political system in the US, has reached a level where they don't know what to do when they have the problem that they have, right? That they are just, it's, if you look at it, let me just say this. Let me give you some examples. They're in a war in Ukraine, and they have to continue to tell their citizens that they can win the war, that there's a chance that the Ukrainians can win, that, this Ukraine's, I mean, I still see these articles. Russia's losing. Russia lost 5 million troops yesterday. Watch a video of Ukraine blowing up Russian troops, right? As though Ukraine has a chance to win. They got to continue to play that, right? Meanwhile, there's anti-Semitism everywhere. The country is loaded with and these people hate Jews. All these Jewish people that are protesting Israel hate Jews, and of course, Israel will win. Israel's got a good chance of win. Israel's going to handle this. Israel must defeat the Hamas. They must finish Hamas. They must finish this thing, right? When there's no chance of that. So you have a war in Ukraine that the US versus Russia, that the US is obviously losing, and they don't have a plan. Obviously, they don't know what the hell to do. A war in the Middle East that the US is obviously losing, and they don't have a plan, and they don't know what to do. They're trying to start a war against China. Let's face it, they're losing a naval battle to Yemen, a country that doesn't have a navy. I don't think they have much of a chance against China. None. They'll get slaughtered the first day. It's obvious the level of incompetence now at the highest levels of the United States. If they go to war with, they're going to war with Yemen and losing. Need I say any more, right? So that's another, debacle. To me, when I look at Biden, it's the same debacle. They're all the same debacle. They're all the same thing, in that they got a guy, all of us, the crazy conspiracy theory people, us, right? The people who don't trust the system, who question the system, who, when something happens and they tell us this is why, we're like, yeah, we don't believe that. Let's try to figure out what it really is. When something goes down and they say, this is the reason it went down, this is what you need to do, we say, yeah, we don't trust you and we ain't doing it, right? Those of us, the crazy conspiracy theories, the QAnon nutcases, we're both far right wing and far left wing at the same time. We're right wing fascists and we're left wing commies all at the same time, right? All of us extremists all watched videos of Joe Biden for the last couple of years. And like 3 years ago, we're like, yeah, this guy's done. What are you talking about? What have we been saying the last couple of weeks? How can they run this guy? The last months, how can they run this guy? And then when they set up the debates, all of us were like, this guy, you're putting this guy in the debate? He's toast. He's done. He couldn't find his butt, in a well-lit room, right? And we're looking at it, we're like, what are you doing here? Okay. And what did we hear? He's stuttering. I've heard that from people. Well, he has to stutter, a stutter. And last night during the debate, Biden's like, he's like doing the Tourette syndrome thing. He's like scrunching his face up. He's confused. He's rambling and mumbling incoherently. And then we saw something go across the screen. Now, how obvious is that they were like, oh shit, we are in deep trouble. What do we do? So CNN, and I'm sure, to be quite frank, it didn't even come from the Biden team. CNN runs something across the screen. The Biden campaign says that Joe Biden has a cold. That was CNN. They didn't hear that. The Biden campaign did not call them and say he has a cold. The CNN people were sitting there watching it, and they're like, boy, what do you think? I don't have an idea. Would you have an idea? I don't know. Would you have an idea? Well, he is coughing a little bit. We'll say he has a cold. I mean, if stuttering worked, we said he was stuttering before last time. He wasn't as bad as this. So I got it. He has a stutter and a cold. Let me tell you something. Anything short of he was hit in the head with a baseball bat, shot in the head, maybe a Fab 3000 fell on his cranium. Anything short of that, I ain't buying it. So when they went to, yeah, he's got a cold, I'm like, oh yeah, he's got a cold, all right. He looks like he's already cold. He looks like he's sleeping. He's about ready to sleep the eternal cold death. He's done. He's finished, right? And they actually tried to say the Biden team says he's got a cold. Like we were supposed to go, well, that never mind. Oh, I thought this guy's brain had fallen out on his ears and was laying on the table beside him. But little did I know it was a cold. Like we were supposed to be like, well, when I have a cold, I ramble incoherently, I mumble, I make weird faces like as I'm mumbling incoherently and rambling, I make really weird faces like I'm straining, man. I'm looking. Of course, then again, anybody who's ever had a baby knows sometime when they have that look on their face that they're straining, they are straining, and it ain't to get their words out, which is a possibility with Joe Biden. That when he had that look on his face like he was straining, I'll put it like this: you might want to hold your nose if you're anywhere near him on the stage, because it could have been a really bad situation going on that was far worse than we even knew, right? But the bottom line is this. So, I mean, let's face it. Figuratively, you could say Joe Biden pooped the bed. So who knows if he didn't, both, figuratively and literally poop the bed on the stage. All of those things are possible. When it was over, Joe Biden had to go up and grab him by the arm and guide him off stage, because God knows he'd have just stood there. If she hadn't helped him off stage, he'd have just been like this. That look, and the look on his face, that vacant, far away look, right? And I'm not sure if he had a stroke, but one of his eyes was like this. And he had this look. One of his eyes was slumped. The worst time for Biden was not when he was talking. It wasn't when he was talking, right? Because when he was talking, he was rambling incoherently, but at least he was rambling. Something was coming out. You knew that inside there was something. It couldn't get from here to there, right? It couldn't like travel from here and be changed into coherent sentences and come out. He wasn't there. That's done. That's over, right? But you knew something was in there, right? But when the camera was on Trump and you could still see Biden, there was nobody home. One of his eyes was slumped closed and one was open. And then his face, he just didn't drool. I mean, he didn't physically drool, but mentally he drooled. Mentally, he was like this. And they were like, and President Trump, whatever. And Trump was like, yes, immigration, and more immigration. And Trump was like, Biden was like, And one time he's like looking the wrong way. He's like looking in this way. And having done TV, I can tell you what they did. You know how they bailed him out? They have a camera and over here, a camera over here, a camera over there. And they'll say to you, and see, here's what I already know. When you're there, what they'll say to Joe Biden and Trump is this: President Biden, your camera is camera number one. President Trump, your camera is number two. President Trump, when you talk, you look into camera two. President Biden, when you talk, you look into one. I do TV, I know, right? So Biden's, whichever, let's say it was one. So it was President Trump, Biden, when you're talking, look into one. Well, he forgot at one point, and he was looking into Trump's camera, because like when the camera was away from him, he's going like this. And they finally got to him, and he started talking, and he was still looking into the wrong camera. He's like, the idea. He's a whiner. But he's looking at, he's like, So he's drooling, he's looking into the camera, and all he's saying over and again is the idea, this guy, we beat Medicare. He literally said, we beat Medicare. I'm like, why would you want to beat Medicare? But that would be the wrong question, because that would be like when a baby walks up to you, and you answer them like like they just ask you to solve the quadratic equation. No, they're a baby. That's the best they can do. They babble. Toddlers babble, except they're babbling, and they go blah 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 blah, and you just do it back. Blah 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 blah, little baby. Blah blah blah. Yeah, little baby. Ooh, that's what you do. You get a squeezy toy, and they smile. That's what you do with a baby. The best they can do. They're on the upswing. He's kind of the same place as a little baby, but he's on the downswing, right? So it would be a disservice. It would be intellectually dishonest of me to discuss the debate relative to content, relative to what they say. That debate last night was not about what was said. A big part of it is energy. People go by energy, right? People look at people and say, look at your energy, right? Your energy's young. Your energy's strong, right? People always tell me, wow, your energy's young. Well, I work out and I'm hyper and I keep going, right? I'm going to try to. It's my mother was, when she was old, her energy was young. She kept going. You got to keep, and a lot of people not here know. They're busy. You keep busy. And you'll maintain a young energy, right? Trump, I would say, didn't have the energy that he had in 2019 or 2016. Certainly not. His energy's turned down a little bit, but it's not gone. He's past. He's where you take him by the hand and you take him somewhere, because he's not competent to walk around on his own, to think on his own, and he can't form coherent sentences. But there's a reason that he can't form coherent sentences, because he doesn't have coherent thoughts. So I saw this Washington Post article. Biden stumbled and Trump told lies. It don't matter what Trump said. First of all, Biden said things that just didn't even make to say that Trump told lies. Biden said things that didn't even make sense. He said things that you couldn't even interpret in the English language. Humans can't interpret. How do you interpret that? So Trump could have sat there on a freaking lawn chair on stage and drank iced tea. And every time they said, President Trump, what do you have to say about January 6th? He could have been, you know what? Tell you what I do. I give up my time, give it to Biden. Trump could have did that. He could have said, look, I don't need, just whatever the audience wants to think of me, vote for me, support me or not, that's fine. You make a decision, not based on me. I give to you, ladies and gentlemen, people of the audience, people of America, people all around the world who are watching this, I present to you the Democratic nominee. That's all Trump had to do. Here's the Democratic nominee. There's this guy. That's who they're putting out. And don't get me wrong, Washington Trump. I mean, here's the thing. Trump barely had even a superficial understanding of the issues, right? Oh, I'll do this. It was all the right-wing strongman. Why, if I were in power, people would never do anything wrong because they'd be scared of us, right? You noticed one of the things I notice about certain people is a fear-based mentality. The fear-based mentality is, I'm afraid of everything and we've got to act based on fear. And therefore, the way to get other people to do things is to look tough and scare them. That's really telling on yourself, because you're saying the way to get me to do things is to look tough and scare. The only thing that matters to me in life is to look tough and scare others, right? And that's all about being a fraud and a fake, right? Which, might I add, Donald Trump is the first perfect manager for empire, the U.S. empire right now, especially an empire that's feeble, an empire that's weak, an empire that's corrupt and falling apart. The only thing they can do is look tough, because they can't back it up. And so the bottom line is, what we saw the U.S. empire yesterday. There's no point discussing the content. Whatever Trump said, who cares? He just won the election last night. If they put Biden out, Trump won the election. Because how can you win an election when any reasonable person other than the brainwashed look at you and say, I don't know if that guy can actually handle his own toilet duties. Clearly, he can't feed himself. You wouldn't want to leave that guy to bathe himself right now, because let's face it, he could turn the shower up too high and burn himself. He could slip under the water and drown himself. I mean, you couldn't leave Joe Biden in a bathroom by himself to bathe himself. I don't know that he could do that. I don't think it would be safe. It would be unfair. And if you came in and he had drowned or hit his head or burned himself in the shower, then, it would, granted, he's a genocidal bastard and I hate his guts, but he's still an old person. And we have a responsibility, I think, to take care of the infirmed, even genocidal bastards. Once they become infirm to that level, they're no longer really responsible. The Joe Biden that made decisions one time that were horrible and evil and terrible decisions that he has made throughout his career, that Joe Biden is gone. That Joe Biden's done. That Joe Biden's not here anymore. He ain't coming back. He's finished. So the guy there, that feeble, frail old skeleton that we saw last night, is a shell of what once was a blithering asshole. But it's a shell of that blithering asshole right now. So at this point, somebody said Trump is a closet neocon. He thinks he can push any country around. Absolutely. Trump is the perfect representation of the U.S. empire, right? And that is, he struggles to deal with a superficial narrative that simplifies everything in a way that everybody's scared of the U.S. empire. The U.S. empire is still dominant, and everybody will do what we tell us because we're so powerful. Everybody's scared of us, right? We're broke. We're up to our ears in crap. We're in wars all over the world that we can't possibly win. The U.S. empire has to lie to, propagandize, and brainwash its own people. And we end up with Donald Trump and a mummy. That's what we had last night, a debate between Trump, who really is not much of a politician at this point in his career, who really doesn't have an intellectual grasp of the issues, but he's running against a mummy. He's running against a guy who ought to be wrapped from head to toe in gauze and, wandering around in a crypt somewhere. That's him. That's where we are right now. This is a perfect example of where the U.S. empire is. You see, the thing about it is this, and this is why I call it imperial collapse. RFK Jr., a guy who, were it not for his position on Israel, would be president. I really believe that. Were it not for his position on Israel, RFK Jr. would win this thing, because RFK Jr., if we're honest about it, look, I can get emotional and be all mad about Israel, but let's just be honest. Let's not get emotional about it. Okay. He seems like he has a pretty good understanding of the issues. He sounds like he has a pretty good understanding of empire. He is far better than the rest of these guys when it comes to foreign policy, when it comes to the whole COVID, when it comes to a lot of things, so much so that they have to try to paint him as a madman and a crazy guy. So anytime the empire and the system has to paint you as a bad guy and a crazy person, that means you're onto something, right? But I also think this, he ain't no dummy. And he knows that if he doesn't go along with the Gaza genocide, then he'll face his own personal genocide. He knows they killed his uncle. He knows they killed his father, and he knows why. And he knows that if he comes out here and says the truth about the whole Gaza conflict, that he will be number 3. It will be a trifecta. The next Kennedy will go down. He knows that. So he's a smart guy. He knows the truth. But he has chosen to do 2 things. Number 1, to go along with the Gaza genocide, and number 2, to live. Because if he don't go along with the Gaza genocide and he runs, he would be winning and they'd kill him. Those are 2 things I actually believe. He would be winning and they would kill him. Because if you listen to what he's saying, he has an in-depth grasp of the issues. He talks about foreign policy, And he says a lot of things that a lot of us would say, yeah, that's reasonable. We finally got a guy that's not a crazy person. Do I disagree with him on a lot of things? Particularly, I'm a person who has a radically different economic and social policy than, economic, particularly policy. But the bottom line is this: were it not for the Gaza, he'd be looking pretty good right now, but he'd also be looking pretty dead right now. So I understand all of that. So they couldn't have him on stage. They had to change the rules so he couldn't be on stage, because you had Trump, who has a superficial grasp of the issues. You had Biden, who, well, he's Joe Biden, he's finished. And to have a guy who has both an understanding of the issues and the ability to clearly articulate his thoughts would have been over yesterday. If he was on a debate, I mean, how could you very well look at the three of them and say Joe Biden or Trump was an option? It's just that the Gaza thing is killing his campaign. But if it didn't, it would. I really believe this. They'd take him out. Right? So what do we have? We got a guy who I think, in Joe Biden, really, really represents the empire. What's interesting is, as clownish as these two guys are, they really represent the empire well. They do. They are the perfect representatives of the U.S. empire. Trump, in that our narratives are superficial, right? Putin's evil and we're good, and Assad. There's a group of evil people: Putin, Assad, Gaddafi was evil, of course, and Maduro's evil, and the leaders of Iran are evil. You know what the interesting thing about all of those evil people? They got like the most oil of any countries in the world. Let's see. Venezuela, they're run by an evil guy, and they got more oil deposit than anybody in the world. Russia, the only reason they don't have more oil deposits than anyone in the world is because a lot of their area is unexplored. Probably they do by far. Libya, they had more oil than any country in Africa, loaded with oil, up to the gills in oil, right? Or they had a lot. It may not be more than any country in Africa, but way up there, right? Syria, lots of oil. See, for some reason, every country, if you got a lot of oil and you won't go along with the U.S. empire, your leader's going to be labeled as evil. That's a given. That's done, right? So we got superficial foreign policy that makes no sense. But the only thing it really posits is the U.S. is good. The U.S. is spreading democracy. We're doing good things. The interventions that we're doing are the right thing to do, and that everything we do is right simply because we do it, because we're good. And if we do it, it's automatically good because we did it. We know that's where Trump is, and that's the empire, number one. Number two, the empire has gotten itself into a bunch of jams and looks like fools, and it doesn't know how to get out of them. Well, that's Biden. Biden has gotten himself into a jam by running. He don't know how to get out of it. They don't know what to do to get him out of it. They're in a disaster, and he's old. He's feeble. He has no answers. That's the U.S. empire. U.S. empire is feeble, has no answers. Russia's growing, China's growing, India's growing, everybody's growing, and the U.S. is like, nobody can grow. These countries are not allowed to grow. We must contain these countries. Really? You think you can contain Russia and China? You think you can contain Russia and China? Your brain is more deteriorated than Joe Biden if you think you can contain Russia and China. Now, someone mentioned, let's see, let me read it. Let me read this. I like to read some stuff sometimes. Oh, I lost it. How about, let's go with this. Eric says, the fact that Garland mentioned JFK before Jill Stein proves that showmen sell, not sensitive people. Okay, here's the bottom line. Good comment, Eric. So let me tell you, I like Jill Stein's policies the best, by far. The likelihood for me now is that I'll probably vote for Jill Stein. Oftentimes I write in, the ghost of Abraham Lincoln or something, the ghost of Hugo Chavez, whatever. But the odds are, for me, it looks like, unless something changes with it, which I doubt it will, I'll probably vote for Jill Stein. Because let's face it, Jill Stein has real policies, a real understanding of things. I don't think she has a prayer of winning. If she did, they'd kill her. I mean, we got to be honest about this thing. People don't want to be honest when I say, well, if this person did this, they'd kill him. If she won, they'd kill him. If this person, blah, blah, blah. Let's face it. You've been paying attention to this a Boeing thing. Boeing is up to its ears in filth, in disasters, planes dropping out of the sky, doors plopping off, a landing gear won't open. I mean, this is just on a given day, right? And a couple whistleblowers came out. What happened to those whistleblowers? Find them now, buddy. They are sleeping with the fishes. I could go on and on and on. You ever seen the list, the Clinton list? How many people mysteriously committed suicide? Right. So the bottom line is this: they killed the president already, JFK. They killed a potential president, RFK Jr. And I could go on and on about the presidents that they've killed. But, most of them that died, they weren't accidental deaths. So bottom line is this: I believe that the empire has no qualms about taking somebody out that they don't like or that they feel threatens their interests, which is that the ruling elite gets all the money and everything and you get nothing, and that we don't have a democracy, that they choose everything. But think about this. This country that spends so bottom line with Jill Stein, if she won, yeah, let me ask you this: anybody know who makes the plane that the president flies in? You know who makes Air Force One? Boeing. If Jill Stein won, the door would come off and they'd suck her out the door at 60,000 feet, and she'd drop, to her death. She'd freeze, up there and then drop to her death. She's out of here. She's done. Now they'd check her and find a bullet in her. They'd kill her. Right? She's done. Let's go on. Bottom line is, at this point, the other question becomes, okay, one question is answered: is Joe Biden competent? Absolutely not. But there's two things that come to mind after that. There's two questions that ask themselves. Question one: can he be the nominee? Well, that answered itself. No, he can't be the nominee. But they could still try, give it a shot if they want to. But if they do, I mean, what are they going to lose? 48 states at this point. So that's over. But let's just say, possibly they can run it. But there's a far greater question, and it's more immediate. We're looking at Joe Biden, and he's fried, right? His brain is mashed potatoes. It's oatmeal, whatever you want to use. Swiss cheese, as I said put in the picture. Can he be president now? Right? Isn't that the question? I mean, the most immediate question, like, for instance, if a guy is going to, you find the pilot and the pilot says, look, I'm going to get in this plane and I'm going to fly you to Delaware, right? We're going to go. We've all done that. I remember I was last time I was in the Virgin Islands. I was in St. Thomas, and to fly back, they did a 100-mile flight. They started off by landing in Puerto Rico, and then they left Puerto Rico and they went to Boston and went on from there, right? Okay, here's my point. The pilot, let's just say you looked and you said, okay, this pilot, bring the pilot in. He comes out with a service dog. And I'm like, is that the pilot? Yeah. Well, what's the service dog for? Why does he have dark glasses and a white cane? Because he's blind. Well, okay. I know that he can't possibly fly from Puerto Rico to Boston. That's like a 3-hour flight. So he can't do that. We know that, right? Yes. Can he fly the first leg of it? Can he fly from St. Thomas to Puerto Rico? It's only 100 miles, like a 45-minute flight. By the time you get up, you start landing. They don't even take their landing gear down, right? Or retract the landing gear. There ain't no point in it. It's so close. We've all flown those little flights. So the bottom line is this: if he can't do the big one, that's a given. But we can't do the little short flight, right? He can't do the next 4 years. Can he do the next 4 months? I mean, think about this. Let me find something. These hypocrites. Here's an example, pbs.org, right? This is what they were writing. Let's look at the date, January 8th, 2021. What is the 25th Amendment And what could it mean for Trump, right? So they're going on. They could get through impeachment. Use of the 25th Amendment has rarely been used since its ratification. It defines how the president can be removed. Blah 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 blah. Uh, basically they said that you can use the 25th Amendment, the vice president and other members. It says Vice President Mike Pence and the majority of the cabinet members would have to give a written statement to Congress declaring that President Donald Trump is unfit for office, right? So I could go on and on, but the machine was talking about the 25th Amendment for Trump because Trump was unfit for office. They could say that, oh, he's unfit for office. Okay, you made that argument, but it was absurd. But they made that argument because they were trying anything they could to get rid of Trump. Fair enough. What's the point of having the 25th Amendment? Based on what I saw last night, let's not ever discuss the 25th Amendment again. Let's not have that discussion. Let's not even pretend like it exists. It doesn't exist. If you can come on a stage and you don't have a firm grasp on reality, if you can't put together a coherent sentence, you're changing in the middle of sentences, you're stumbling, you're bumbling, you're confused, you're scrunching your face up. Your wife has to help you off stage. We've all seen the videos, right? We've watched the video of Obama helping him on Obama helping him off stage. We saw the video last week of he was at D-Day and he's wandering around, and Giorgia Meloni had to go get him and bring him back to the crowd. I mean, we could go on and on. I've seen video after video after video. The video that Jimmy Dore had last week when he was trying to mention the Homeland Security Director Mayorkas, and he literally said yeah yeah yeah. He got like his brain got hung up, and he goes yeah yeah yeah. The Homeland Security. I'm not going to mention him now. We all saw that, and we said, yeah, he's done. The people behind the scenes knew it. You know they knew it. They knew it when they stuck him out here. Either, I probably started this earlier, didn't finish it. Either they're so screwed up that they had no clue what to do and how to deal with it, and they were just trapped and they put him out on stage because they didn't know what else to do. Or I think I started this early and didn't finish it. Oh no, maybe I've got dementia, but at least I ain't as bad as Biden. Or, and this is another possibility, that Joe Biden um, was hard headed. And maybe they talked to him, hey, Joe, perhaps you should step down. And he said, no, I'm fine. Jack, give me some more ice cream. And they said, okay, how can we get rid of him? I got an idea. Yeah, let's go ahead and do this debate. What? What are you talking about? We can't possibly put this man out and do a debate. No, hear me out. Hear me out. This is, Blinken and Sullivan and the idiots there. Hear me out. This guy's hard headed. We told him, we talked to him until we're blue in the face, and he won't listen, right? Correct. Stick him out there. You can't be, you can't be, you can't, no, you're not saying what I think. Are you saying what I think? Yes, I'm saying what I think. What you think. We put him out there. He won't listen. He won't say no. He won't step down. Okay? We got to let him humiliate himself. If we let this guy do the debate, this situation will take care of itself by the next morning, and then we can do what we know we already need to do, is get rid of them. So I think there's a possibility. I'm not eliminating the possibility that they're blithering idiots and that they were just trapped in a narrative, as they are in the Middle East, as they are in Ukraine, and they didn't know how to deal with reality. They could only deal with the narrative that Trump was really the guy that was a goofball, and that Biden was, as brilliant as, a regular Stephen Hawking, right? They couldn't, or they chose to. They couldn't do anything about it because they were so inept, or they chose to because that was the only way they could expose him to the world, and then they wouldn't have to do it. And then everybody else would come to his inner circle and say, guys. Obama would walk in, guys. But they have a problem. They have a big problem, not a little problem, a big problem. You see, when they chose the vice president, let's face it, they chose her. She's part Indian, and part Jamaican or something, right? They chose her. They looked at her and said, she's a pretty woman, which she is. They looked at her and said, she's nationally and internationally known figure, which she is. And she's a quote, woman of color, whatever that means. I'm not even 100% sure. They come out with terms like a BIPOC, a black or indigenous person of color. They come up with so many of these names now. I don't know what the hell person of color means, but whatever it is, these people looked at Kamala Harris and said, she's one of them. And they decided she checks off enough boxes. She's pretty, she's known, she's a woman of color, whatever the hell that means. And therefore, she's the president. They didn't think about the competence box. It's like you watch the movies these days, you watch any of these Disney movies, and it's like nobody watches them. They flop beyond belief. Why? Because they don't think we got to get the best actors we can. We got to get the best CGI we can. We got to get the best writing we can. Nope. What are you going to do? We're going to teach everybody a cultural lesson. We're going to have a movie where there's people of color who are women, they're gay, they're whatever, right? And then we're going to have non-binary people, and we're going to have a cultural lesson. We already understand the culture of Hollywood. You don't have to teach us Hollywood culture. We understand it, and we are kind of freaked out by it, if you want the truth, because it's superficial. It is, let's put a person based on the boxes that they check, and we're going to not really take into account their ability to do the job or even what the job is, right? A movie, if I want a friggin' movie about aliens, for God's sake, give me some good aliens. Give me some good Star Wars fighters and X-Wing stuff. I don't care about making sure that you have one black person, one Muslim person, one Asian person, one gay. You got to have a gay couple there with this and that, blah, blah, blah. I don't care about that. I want to watch a good movie when that's where they are. That's Kamala Harris. It's interesting that she's from California too, because she represents that. So now you got two incompetent people. One is incompetent, that he never was competent. Biden was always an idiot. He was never a very bright guy. Extremely dysfunctional, arrogant, racist prick. Really, that's Joe Biden. He's always been that. But which is interesting because he's in a party that calls everybody sexist and racist and all this stuff. And Joe Biden's his very history is just that. And then they complain about Clarence Thomas, and you're like, but Joe Biden is the guy that worked hard to get Clarence Thomas, in the Supreme Court. And then they gripe about, the police or whatever, which, as I said, I'm former police. I can tell you the gripes, they're valid gripes about the law enforcement in America not facing any reasonable consequences for their acts. That's fair enough, right? But, they'll gripe about that and they're going to do something about it. And they bring in a guy who was Mr., he's the guy who, was the author of many of the bills that caused high incarceration. The very thing they claim that they're going to fix is the very thing that their guy was responsible for. So they put this clown in there now. They put Kamala Harris, same thing, terrible when it comes to the issue of law enforcement, courts, and justice system. Horrific. She really was. And now, if they get rid of Joe Biden, I don't know what the hell. Who can Kamala Harris debate? She cackles. She doesn't seem real bright to me. I'm not saying she's not book smart, but she has no political inclinations that are beneficial to a politician, right? She doesn't have those inclinations, the ability to riff, as they say, right? The ability, and this is important. I remember a while back, I watched Sarah Palin. And when I first saw Sarah Palin, I said, my God, she's horrible. And what was it? Why did I say she was horrible? Because a politician needs to be able to answer questions. And when someone asks you a question and you can't answer it, you need to be able to bullshit them. And a lot of politicians are good at that. Look, I don't have to like you. I don't have to agree with you, but I can say Obama, my issues with Obama, Obama, he was a warmongering bastard that just, worked for the banks. Truth to be told, he was an avatar for big banks. But here's the bottom line. He was a good politician. He was smart. He could bullshit people. He was quick. He was, very, very intelligent, very able. If you ask him a question, he could talk for 5 minutes, and afterwards you'd smile and not realize that he didn't say a damn thing. But here's my point. But that's a good politician. It's bad for humanity and the world and all that. But it's a politician who has the ability to do politics in the U.S. empire, which is to evade, which is to lie, which is to mislead. Okay, you can do that. Kamala Harris can't do that. Kamala Harris is like Hillary Clinton. When people challenge you, right, you've got to be able to stand up to that challenge. When people challenge Hillary Clinton or challenge Kamala Harris, they get angry. And then they start flopping all over the place. And then they start striking out at people because they're angry. They don't have intellectual or emotional discipline. And in Kamala's case, she's a freaking idiot. And so nobody looks at Kamala Harris and says, that's a person that could be president. That's a person that, really, I think can handle nobody. So now here's the question they got. It gets back to what I was saying, right? There are options. And realistically, today, somebody should come out of the White House today and say, we've had a talk with the president. He's feeling well today. He's doing well. He's with his family right now. He's being transported to Delaware. Got himself an ice cream cone, and they're giving him, helping him out. And they're going to get him back to his residence in Delaware where he'll rest comfortably. I mean, that's what people who are in this condition, those two words usually work pretty good. Rest comfortably. You're right. That's what you want him to do. He's on his way out and he's already gone intellectually. So the words for Biden should be 2 words: resting. What's the president do? He's resting comfortably. What's the plans for the president? We're going to take him to his home in Delaware where he can rest comfortably. Will he be giving speeches? No, he won't be giving any speeches. Oh, will he be writing an op-ed? Yeah, no, that probably ain't going to happen. At this point, the only 2 words you should hear for Joe Biden are resting and comfortably. But how did he do that? How did they do that? How do they say, okay, Joe Biden's done, therefore his vice president will take over as the nominee? Certain, absolute, unequivocal disaster. You run her against Trump, she loses. The only thing you're going to have left, see, here's the thing about a cult. And I think American, both parties are really have devolved into cults. The blue cult, the true believers will all circle around her. The true believers of the cult will say, we've got a new cult leader, Kamala Harris. And they'll all simply say what they need to say, whatever they're told. If Morning Joe comes on and he says, Trump's a fill in the blank, and Kamala Harris is brilliant. She's smart. She's sassy. She's a Black woman. She's this. She's a mother. She's a bulldog with lipsticks on and all this kind of stuff, right? The true believers will repeat all that stuff. Hey, what do you think about Kamala? Kamala. Oh, she's tough. She's hold on a minute. Let me get the paper. All righty. She's tough. She's a bulldog with lipsticks on. I can't read this, honey. Can you come over here? What's that say? Oh, she's a strong black woman. That says black. You write this a little better here, for God's sake. She's a strong Black woman. That's what they'll do. They will look on the paper. They will get their talking points and they'll repeat them. It ain't enough of them to put her in the White House. The Kive on Twitter. They come to find out. Did you know that they found out that her supporters on Twitter were almost all bots? It was the Kive was almost all bots, like 80-90% bots. There was no Kive. It was an invented narrative. How could there be a Kive? It's Kamala Harris. And even that word Kive, come on. The Kive, it just sounds like something that was invented on K Street by a PR firm. Kive. What are you? I'm a member of the Kive. I'm a Bernie bro. I'm a Hillary. You know what I mean? Idiots putting themselves in a box to show that they support somebody. I'm a member of this cult is all that they're really saying. The cult's getting smaller. and the cult is collapsing. And now you've got a two-party system that's really one party. And really, what's the point in running somebody, Democrats? What's the point? It's one party anyway. What do you got to vote for more money to go to war? And you think there's one party or the other that's going to say no? One of the parties are going to say perhaps we're not doing the right thing in Israel. Look, the one of the good things that happened last night was when they asked Trump if you will you accept uh, President Putin's conditions for Ukraine, right? And he wouldn't really say, and he hesitated. At least that was positive. That tells me the answer is probably yeah. He didn't want to lock himself in and say no. What they were trying to do last night, knowing that Trump will probably be president, they were trying to lock him in. They were trying to set up a situation where Donald Trump cannot accept Vladimir Putin's offer, which is not going to get better. It's going to get worse. And where later on, if Donald Trump says, you know what, I've decided I'm going to accept the Russian offer, they can show this old video. But you said you were not going to. Now, Garland be a man of Zen. If they said that to me, if I said, I've decided to accept President Putin's offer, and they said for peace, and they said, but we've got video of you saying you won't. And I'll say, yeah. At that time, I felt that I wouldn't. However, I've reevaluated the situation based on what's in the best interest of the United States, and based on what's in the best interest of the people of the United States, I've decided to make a change. See, they won't do that because one of the part of the idiocy of empire is that you decide what you're going to do on Wednesday. Monday, you say, this is what I'm going to do on Wednesday. And that's your plan for Wednesday, regardless of what happens on Tuesday. Now, those of us who live in the real world know that you can plan. Let's just say you got a lawn service. You can tell your crew, okay, guys, we're going out on Wednesday. You can say that on Monday. What are you going to do this week? We're going to go out and cut every day this week. And we've got some jobs to do here and there. And we got to put some trees and flowers in and landscaping. And you plan out for the week, right? You do that on Monday, guys, this is what we're going to do. Now they come in and say it's going to rain all day on Wednesday. You know that you have to change your schedule. Well, guys, Wednesday, we can't do that. So come to the shop. We're going to rebuild some lawnmowers and do that. I know the reason I sell that because a friend of mine owns a lawn service, and I go over there and hang out with him sometimes. And I see a young lady in the shop rebuilding lawnmowers. They'll do different things, right? But the bottom line is this. You can't very well say, well, we've already decided on Wednesday that we're going to cut lawns, so we got to go out and cut lawns. No, but there's going to be thunderstorms. We can get struck by lightning. I'm sorry, we've already made that decision. We can't change. In the real world that people like us work in, you have to make a change. We're going to do this on Wednesday. Well, the parts didn't come in for the so-and-so job. Oh, darn. We can't do it on Wednesday. Okay, we'll work on this other job. We'll do something different. We have to make changes, right? The customer called and said they don't want it this way. They want an extra fence. Okay, we got to make changes. We can't do the same. But that's the real world for us, right? In the fake empire world, when you say, well, I won't accept Putin's offer, right? And if the circumstances on the ground change and you look at it and you say, well, that offer's looking pretty good now. Let's go back and see if we can get it. Well, you said you wouldn't take his offer. In the real world, what we say is the circumstances change. So now we will. In the imperial empire world, oh, yes, I cannot change. I said I would do that. So I cannot possibly make a U-turn. I cannot alternate from the plan, even no matter how bad the plan is, no matter if the plan's working. I can't alternate from the plan. That ain't the way it works in our world. So we looked at it and we're like, oh boy. Trump, they're setting Trump up to say that I won't accept it. So if later on he says he will accept it, and knowing Trump, that's what I suspect. I suspect what will happen. Trump says, I want to get a deal. Excuse me. He says, I want to get a deal. I'm not saying that Trump can or that the system will let him, but it wouldn't shock me if Trump tried to get a deal. It wouldn't shock me if they said, look, they negotiated back and forth and the Russians said, look, I'll take this and this, but you're going to have to say no NATO ever for Ukraine. If you do that, we can stop and we can talk Turkey. Trump may consider that. I'm not saying he would. I'm not saying the machine would let him, but I'm just saying wanting a deal, knowing Trump, he may take that. He may say, okay, they want to set it up so they can say, well, you said you wouldn't and now you would. Even then, I think Trump he wants to close that off. So bottom line is That's to me what that was about. It was a good thing that Trump really wouldn't answer when they asked if you would take the deal that President Putin. It was a setup, and I think he felt it intuitively that they're trying to box me in. Would you do this? Would you do that? If you're a good politician, you don't want to answer that. Would you do this in the future? Well, it depends on how the circumstances. I can't say what I would do in the future. I can't say what threats that you see. That's a good answer. Well, you just change the subject, which is what Trump did, and say, wait, let's go back to what happened in what he just said, and then he took it to immigration or whatever, which to me said he don't want to talk about that. He doesn't want to restrict himself from what deal he can take because he might want to get a deal. I'm not saying he could, but he might not want to get one. That was the positive thing to me. It says to me that Trump is angling right now in his mind. He's angling for a deal for Ukraine. He don't want to get locked in. And I think knowing Trump, Trump, what you heard from him all night was, I'm the greatest, I'm the best. Everything I do is the most wonderfulest ever, right? I think Trump wants to come in. This is what Trump wants to do. He wants to come in and he wants to say, I told you I'd end this Ukraine thing and I'll end it. And I've ended it. Look at me, what I did. That's Trump. I'm the greatest ever. They couldn't end this thing. Well, the thing that's interesting because the empire can't, because the empire is using the Ukraine conflict as part of a project to dominate the world. And if that project ends without weakening Russia, then the whole project of dominating the world goes to pieces. So be interesting to see how that works out. But the American people want the conflict ended in diplomatic resolution, and Donald Trump clearly wants it ended in a diplomatic resolution. So we shall see what happens. But at this point, the question has to be, who they gonna bring in? How do they get around Kamala? See, that's the issue. How do they get around Kamala? Right now, they have a president that clearly is not making decisions. So the question is, how can you call this a democracy when the guy who was voted in, when it's obvious, not they ever make the decisions, but it's obvious, you're not even hiding it from us. The ruling elite are mocking us. They're literally mocking us by having Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in there trying to convince us that these people are doing it, are in prison, are in power, or making decisions. And now we're looking at it saying, what are you going to do? Because we know they can't go with Kamala. But every day that Joe Biden is in office from now on, every day that Joe Biden's in office, shut up about a democracy. Shut up about anything. Every day that Joe Biden's in office, I don't want to hear it. Because if Joe Biden's in office, something is very, very wrong. He can't do the job. And now the empire is in collapse because they got a war that's gone bad in Ukraine. Real bad. That was always going to go bad. They got a war that's gone bad in Gaza. That was always going to go bad. I'm sure that people around the world, such as in Europe, have to be looking at their leaders saying, no wonder we're in a world of shit. No wonder everything's falling apart. You, Macron, you, Schultz, you, Sunak, are following behind this guy. You good people are going along with this empire. They got a mummy as an avatar. We don't even know who's really making the decisions. We know it ain't Biden and Kamala Harris, and you're following them. No wonder we're screwed. See, that's what the European people have. Some of them, the ones that have brains, not all of them do, but the ones that got half a brain right now are saying, the hell, no wonder we're screwed. You're following those guys. If you're Taiwan, if you're the Philippines and South Korea, you're cannon fodder for the empire against China. They want to set you up to be cannon fodder. You got to ask yourself certain questions. One of them has to be is, how's things going to turn out for us if we're following this empire? We don't even know who's running it. And if we don't know who's running it, we can't possibly figure out what their game plan is. And they apparently ain't sure who's running it. And Blinken is a freaking idiot. You got Blinken and Sullivan, these type of clowns in charge. So how does any so-called ally now look at the United States as a secure and responsible country? It's not. It's over. It's collapsing. It's not funny because this guy has the nuclear codes. This guy's got the nuclear codes. This guy is a guy who could make the decisions about nukes. The idea. Hey, President Putin wants a peace summit. The idea. The idea. That's all he kept saying. The idea. The idea. And then he says, like, where's the nuclear football right there? Lunch. Why? Because I'm hungry. You said lunch. Yeah. A tuna fish sandwich and fries. Oh, you want lunch? Yeah, that's what I said. Lunch. Okay. Close the nuclear football. We're not going to destroy humankind after all. All right. Never mind. Turn off. Tell everybody, turn off all the alarms. No, the president didn't say lunch. He wants a tuna sandwich and fries. And make sure you get root beer. He loves root beer. That's where we are. That's it. That's where the empire is. Let's see what happens. How long can they pretend that he's in charge? How long can they pretend that Kamala Harris is a viable option? How long can they pretend that he's got a cold? He stuttered. No, the empire has a cold and it's stuttering. He is the U.S. empire. Done. $38 trillion in debt, up to its ears in debt. A economic system that's dysfunctional, collapse of the middle class, collapse of any legitimacy for the ruling elite, collapse of any legitimacy for the media, collapse of any legitimacy for the higher education system. Now they're just extensions of imperialism and extensions of Zionism. Collapse of any moral, intellectual substance that the leadership may be trying to fake us out that they had. There's no moral substance there. There's no intellectual substance there. They're just, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing, and apparently neither do they. Can you imagine what the Russian leadership and the Chinese leadership said after they watched that last night? Hey guys, yeah, warm up the nukes. Warm up the nukes. Why? Because these idiots are going to try to kill us all and we're going to have to smoke them. I mean, they looked at that and they're like, yeah, those guys don't know. I think they're going to launch because they don't know what they're doing and we're going to have to smoke them. What would you think if you were them? A nuclear power that has no, it's not just that Biden screwed. It's not just that Kamala's a bumbling, hapless idiot. It's that the system beneath that has collapsed. The system, see, you know how I like to put it, studying Zen. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris didn't come into American politics. They came out of American politics. They came out of U.S. imperialism. This is what the empire creates. It produces. It produces puppets, avatars, and brain-dead zombies so that the people who really make these decisions and are really in charge can do whatever they want. So in order to do that, you put Joe Biden and Kamala Harris there, and you tell everybody, look, we've got Biden. He's an old relic, but he really knows his stuff. He's tough. What about Kamala Harris? She's a woman of color and stuff like that. And then everybody just buys into the narrative, and you go around the world and you create mayhem. At this point, the mayhem ain't out there. It's in here. And people are looking at what's going on and just shaking their heads. And that's all we can do together. All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. Got to run. Let's see here. I got to answer any potential super chats. Let's go. We went from African American to back to black in one debate. Yeah. No, I mean, those guys are both 97 years old. They God only knows what they probably could have said far worse. Job versus zombie debate. Joker versus zombie debate. The greatest political clown show on earth. Yeah. Oh, just pathetic. Pathetic. Representative of a collapsing empire. Let's see. How about thank Chicka Boom? Chicka Boom Boom says, oh, okay, Joker versus zombie. We already got that from Chicka Boom. How about we go with Tabernacle says, are you familiar with the Zhuang theory in chess? Zhuang. No, I don't. Don't know the Zhuang's theory. How about we go with Tabernacle again? Changing the CEO won't change the path to bankruptcy. Exactly. And and Biden or Cameron, they ain't even the CEO. They're like a picture of a CEO that you put on a desk. It's good to know Trump can hit a golf ball further than Biden. Well, Biden's got a 6 handicap, according to him last night. A 6 handicap. Wow. Yeah, he's handicapped all right, and it ain't got nothing to do with golf. Did you hear that last night? I got a 6 handicap. And Trump is like, a 6 handicap? Come on. Yeah, I got a 6 handicap. And and this morning they're saying that Trump is lying, right? Hey Garland, how you doing? How's your basketball game? Are you kidding me? I make 100 threes in a row. I haven't missed a three in since I was 12. Yeah, I have missed a three since I was 12. What do you shoot from 3-point range? 100%. Never miss a three-pointer. Really? How about foul line? 100%. Never missed a. What do you do? Well, I take off at the rim and I do pirouette in the air and high flying dunks. Really, Garland? You're only 5'11". I find that hard to believe. Yeah, but I do it. Right? That's Biden last night. Yeah, I got a 6 handicap. Yeah, I can find it hard to believe, Joe Biden, because you just pooped yourself and you can't find your way off the stage. Find it hard to believe that you can hit a golf ball at all. They probably have a beach ball and you like swing and miss that. They probably have like a beach ball this big around that's white with the little golf things on it. They put it on there. All right, swing at it there, Uncle Joe. Eh? And they got to like turn him around. No, this way. And he goes, over here. No, Joe. Turn him back around. Okay, over here. To get him to even face in the direction of the golf ball. Okay, swing, Joe. Yeah. No, the golf ball's down here. The idea. Yeah. Good try, Joe. And then they like take the ball and throw it down the fairway. Good Joe, Uncle. Good job there, Joe. They shuffle him on down. He takes out his little walker. Down he goes. That's it. Down goes for it. I was thinking last night, and when Trump said, in fact, when Trump said, he says, I have no idea what Joe Biden just said in that last sentence, and I'm not sure he does either. And I thought to myself, down goes Frazier, right? It was Muhammad Ali, the Thriller in Manila, right? He's like, yeah, I'm not so sure Biden knows what he did either. Down goes Frazier, right? Game, set, match. I got to be honest, and I'm not proud of it. But when he said that, I couldn't stop laughing. I was laid back on the couch, right? I had a pillow behind me. I'm laid back on the couch. I'm watching this thing. I'm like, you got to be freaking joking me. And then, Joe Biden did his usual, yeah, the idea. And when I go, the idea, right? And he said the idea several times. And then he like fumbled it. And Trump's like, and everybody's like, ooh, okay, hibbla, blibla, hibbla. What the hell is that, right? And he said, they look at Trump, and Trump says, I have no idea what he just said. He says, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't either. I don't know. He says, I don't know what he just said. And he's like, and I don't think he does either, right? And when he said that, I just burst into, laughter, guffaws. I mean, it wasn't he. I lost it. It was a belly laugh at that point. I'm rolling over on the couch. Tears are running out of my eyes, right? And Biden's like this. Drool. And Trump just goes on about his business. And I laughed. It was like in law enforcement when you make a joke, gallows humor, when there's a body laying there, all kinds of terrible things, and somebody makes a joke. The body's there, you picked up a body, it's stressful, you don't feel good, there's some poor schlub laying there, and somebody goes, hey, don't forget the dead guy buys lunch, ha ha ha, and everybody laughs, right? It's gallows humor. It's a joke that you make. The old saying, you got to laugh to keep from crying, right? That's what some people don't understand in law enforcement, or firemen do the same thing. They come in and there's mangled bodies in a car and they got to put, sometimes they'll make a joke. That humor is something that people do. Just so you don't know, that humor is not bad, or it's not that they're evil people. It's that they're going through really, really high stress and they make a joke to try to laugh to get out of that stressful situation. Otherwise, you can really go into depression. True, that's a fact. I know guys that have been in depression, right? Committed suicide, stuff like that. Law enforcement, firemen, stuff like that, from dealing with these traumatic situations. Well, I think in light of all the wars that are going on and the potential World War III and nukes flying all over the place and killing us all, I think that when Biden went, and he had smoke was coming out of his ears, and Trump was like, I don't know what the hell he just said. I didn't know what he just said. And I didn't think that he did either. And Trump was voicing what I was thinking. And in the spirit of gallows humor, I laughed until I couldn't stop laughing. You know, I mean, until I couldn't laugh anymore. I laughed until I couldn't hear what Trump was saying because I was laughing so hard. It was hilarious. It was really funny in a twig, you know. In I was once in an airplane. Let me tell you, and everybody in the plane thought it was going to crash. I won't get into the story, but one of the women that was sitting next to me in the plane looked over and said, "Well, nice knowing you." And I laughed, and we thought the plane was going to crash and we're all going to die, right? And that was it. It was it was like, let me throw in a little joke. Well, nice knowing you. You know, like, we're out of here. I guess we're dead, right? And that's the whole kind of thing. It was like, okay, well, it looks like nuclear war is imminent if this guy's in charge, and if he's out of charge and Kamala Harris is in charge, the odds of nuclear war get even higher, right? So forgive me for my guffaws last night, but I had to laugh to keep from crying. All right, thanks a lot, everybody. I think I hit. Let me look and see any more super chats that I need to answer. I think that's it. Ooh. Oh, here's one. Choose ye heretics, choose carnation revolution now. Mental zip tie handcuffs for big brother nuts. Yeah, there's a good one. Yeah, these bastards. Anybody else? I'm not seeing. I see a lot of stuff. Oh, wait a minute. We got another one. Eric Suarez says, great show. Thanks, Eric. I don't know what else to say. I don't think it's a good show. I don't know what to say. Anna says there are many competing parties running America, not just the Democrats and the Republicans. First of all, I agree with you, but not the Democrats and the Republicans. The Democrats and the Republicans are avatars. They're puppets. They're face masks for the ruling elite. And the ruling elite, there's a crisis of legitimacy. All right. Thanks a lot. Greetings from Greece. Wow. Hey, my Greece friends. Anything in? Okay, we got somebody. Scott Johnson. Thank you very much, Scott Johnson, who is on Rockfin. I think that's it. All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. Well, I guess I'm going to get my act together. I got a radio show. I think I got 2 radio shows to do today. My Radio Sputnik show and my Pacifica show. So I got a little something to talk about. It's going to be, so somebody says Biden is the worst liar in U.S. history. Yeah, he's bad. All right. Thanks a lot at all. I guess what happens now? Does somebody knock? Does Obama knock on the White House door? Hello, Joe. I think we need to talk. Joe. Hey, come on, Joe. Let me help you. Get you some ice cream. Joe. Go out here. Joe. Grab his pens. We might need a couple extras, but let's get him some ice cream. Joe, we're going for a ride. That's what I think Obama does. I think Obama comes in, says, Joe, we're going for a ride. Somebody says an orange man versus a dead man. Oh my God. Brain dead, right? Oh my God. What are we seeing here, man? What are we seeing? From now to the election, right? Israel's done. You know what? Let me do this. Did you see everybody? Let me do this. Let me do this. I don't know if you've seen this. There's an article here that I really think that you should see to see how bad things are. And I'm just going to go over this real quick, just so you'll see how bad things are in the occupied Palestine. Watch this. Here's an article. It's in Haaretz. Opinion, right? And it is by Ehud Olmert, right? And what he does is he goes on to talk about this is in Haaretz. And I accuse Netanyahu of betrayal, and he just takes Netanyahu to pieces, right? He goes on, I accuse now of intent to expand the war and initiate a direct all-out military confrontation with Hezbollah instead of reaching with the French and U.S. mediation an agreement with the Lebanese government that will bring an end to the current violent conflict and allow tens of thousands of arrests. So you've got this guy in Haaretz, this article taking what's his name, Netanyahu to pieces, saying we need a, we need a into the conflict. I accuse the Prime Minister of Israel of taking deliberate actions meant to cause a widespread flare up of violence in the West Bank. They go on and on and on of deliberately abandoning the Israel's hostages or still being held by Hamas murderers. But look at this. Here's what he says. This is very telling. His refusal to reach an agreement that will allow all the hostages to return to Israel is based on the argument that it would prevent a total victory over Hamas. But total victory is not an option now, and it has not been an option from the day the prime minister first presented it. So you have Israelis now saying, hey, man, we can't win this damn thing, and you're screwing us, Netanyahu. You're screwing us over. So I believe this is a Netanyahu, Haaretz article, and if you read it, he just takes Netanyahu to pieces. Don't believe for 1 second that this was written or that it was released without the express opinion of the U.S. empire, that the people in Washington didn't say, yeah, go ahead. They might have helped them write it. So they got a disaster on their hands in Gaza, a war that they've lost. They don't know what to do, and they got to deal with that between now and November, because that ain't getting better. And the same thing's going on. The same thing is going on in Ukraine, and they don't know what to do. And now they don't have a presidential fake. They don't know what to do. What a disaster. What a disaster they are. But hey, Kamala Harris will be president soon. She'll bring in Gavin Newsom, and all will be well. Peace. Don't forget, share this on all your social media platforms. Patreon.com. You can donate at PayPal. You can donate at Buy Me a Coffee. You can donate with Cash App. And certainly appreciate it. Go to rockfin.com, ROKFIN.com, and become a member. It doesn't cost anything. Rockfin does not do advertisements. The way Rockfin stays on the air is by members. If you choose, you can become a member at Rockfin, and it costs $14.99 a month. You don't have to. Yeah, that's a subscriber, but that's how Rockfin stays on the air. If you can, $14.99 is a good bit. Some people can't afford it. Some people can. That's an option if you can. Don't worry about it if you can't. But make sure you share this on all your social media platforms. Thanks. I'm out.